He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's floundering.
I have absolutely no feelings about this guy, Justin Baldoni. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I reviewed some of his social media, and he seems kind of ridiculous with his toxic masculinity, lamentations, and so on. But that's fine. That's me. So I'm not on his side. But my point is simply, I just don't see it. In their incendiary complaint, where they're trying to do their best to bash him and the PR team, I don't see that the second loop closed of, and then here's where they did it. It's just all supposition. They don't have these great texts saying, look what I got placed in the New York Post.
And that's part of the point that Justin's team is making in kind of complying with what they're viewing as threats made on her behalf against Justin is like, well, there's this financial consequence to everything in addition to the strike consequences too, right? So they filmed May to June, then shut down for the strike, and then they were down until January. But I think that the strike lifted in November, but then she had all these return to work provisions.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone-deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
This text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you insinuating? Like, is that a joke?
Yeah.
I was blown away reading it. I really was blown away, and honestly, weirded out. We're dealing with a weird on our hands because this is crazy.
Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were never the most obvious collaborators, yet when news broke that Blake would star in the long-awaited adaptation of It Ends With Us, fans expected cinematic gold. Justin had poured his heart into developing this project for years, believing the film would shed light on uncomfortable truths about domestic abuse and emotional trauma. Blake, with her star power and influential presence, appeared to be the perfect leading lady to bring this sensitive story to life. But in a shocking twist, their relationship disintegrated into lawsuits, countersuits, and a media storm so explosive that Hollywood insiders are still reeling. How did a movie meant to spark awareness turn into one of the most talked about legal battles of the decade? And what really happened behind the scenes to make Justin launch a jaw-dropping $400 million counterclaim against his own leading star? It all started with Justin's deep passion for the novel It Ends With Us. He saw in it a chance to create something raw and eye-opening, something that would resonate with millions who've experienced manipulative or dangerous relationships. For nearly half a decade, he nurtured this idea, negotiated rights, and carefully assembled a production team. The role of the female protagonist was crucial. Justin believed the right actress had to balance vulnerability with strength. Enter Blake Lively. From the outside, Blake's audition looked like a masterstroke. She carried an air of sophistication, a massive fan following, and the kind of big-name appeal that draws attention and funding. Early press photos were full of smiles and compliments, with both actors praising each other's talents. But rumors soon surfaced that everything wasn't as rosy as it seemed. Whispers emerged of creative disputes, script rewrites, and behind-the-scenes friction. After all, Justin was protective of the story's integrity, while Blake was known for having strong ideas about every production she was part of. Neither realized, at least at first, just how explosive these small clashes would become. come. Yet behind that polished Hollywood facade, tensions were mounting. People close to the project noticed an atmosphere of unease. Justin's vision for an authentic portrayal of abuse survivors and heartfelt storytelling started clashing with Blake's desire to reshape the narrative. According to insiders, Blake considered herself not just a star, but also an unofficial co-producer, one who wanted the final say on every pivotal decision. And while Justin respected her input at first, the friction between them soon started sending alarm bells throughout the crew. But that was just the tip of the iceberg, one insider allegedly said, suggesting that the real trouble was about to make headlines in a way no one could have predicted. The first real red flag for Justin was the rumored script overhaul. For years, he had collaborated with screenwriters to preserve the delicate balance the novel struck, showcasing the cycle of abuse while highlighting the resilience and complexity of its victims. Shortly after Blake came on board, entire scenes were reimagined, crucial dialogues were deleted, and the film's once serious tone threatened to turn into a glossy marketing vehicle. Some team members claimed that Blake demanded creative control to ensure her brand was central to the movie's promotional campaign. She wanted synergy between her personal ventures, everything from hair care endorsements to social initiatives, woven into marketing materials. Meanwhile, Justin tried to keep the peace. He had poured too much time and passion into It Ends With Us to watch it devolve into a vanity project. Yet each compromise seemed to invite a bigger demand from Blake. An insider recounts how Justin often wound up absent from major promotional events, with Blake front and center, orchestrating the narrative. It was as if he was being sidelined from his own film. He was told to remain on standby, sometimes even relegated to a lesser seat at meetings where Blake took the floor. An unusual dynamic considering he was the one who originally nurtured this entire project. By the time the cast and crew realized the situation was spiraling out of control, it was too late. Gossip spread that Blake had effectively taken over as both lead actress and de facto producer, overshadowing Justin's years of investment. People on set described a tense environment, with every minor disagreement escalating into a major standoff. Still, nobody could foresee the legal bombs about to drop, at least not until Blake made her move, pointing the finger at Justin and claiming wrongdoing that, if proven, would end his career overnight. That's when everything changed, a source said ominously, because once you start throwing around allegations that serious, there's no going back. Out of nowhere, tabloids splashed headlines: Blake Lively sues Justin Baldoni for $250 million. The allegations were grim. According to court documents, Blake claimed Justin had created an uncomfortable environment, harassed her, and demeaned her contributions. She presented herself as an actress who had tried to stand up for creative authenticity, only to be bullied behind the scenes. In a post-Me Too Hollywood, such accusations instantly garnered attention. Often, the court of public opinion jumps to the defense of the alleged victim, especially when it involves a beloved star like Blake Lively. For a moment, Justin appeared cornered. How do you fight accusations as a public figure when the world is poised to condemn you? Former colleagues of Blake were quick to hint that they believed her story. Journalists wrote think pieces on gender power dynamics, suggesting Justin might be the newest poster villain in an industry that has seen too many male directors and producers exploit their positions. But beneath the outrage, skeptics began asking questions. Why would Justin risk everything when he'd spent so many years championing women's narratives, especially in sensitive projects like this one? Where was the hard proof behind Blake's claims? Still, the lawsuit threatened to derail Justin's entire career. Investors panicked, sponsors pulled back, and social media was ablaze with speculation. Everyone thought Justin would roll over to settle quickly, if only to keep the movie from spiraling into oblivion. Little did they know, Justin Baldoni had a plan that would change everything. And what he did next, one Hollywood attorney remarked, was the last thing anyone expected. Justin didn't just refute Blake's accusations, he went for the jugular. In a counter move that blindsided everyone, he sued Blake Lively for a staggering $400 million. The counterclaim alleged defamation, extortion, and a deliberate attempt to hijack It Ends With Us to serve Blake's personal brand. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The same tabloids that had championed Blake's victimhood were forced to confront Justin's side of the story. The legal documents reportedly stretched over 100 pages, bursting with text messages, emails, and behind-the-scenes details that painted a very different picture from Blake's. In these receipts, Blake apparently praised Justin, joked with him, and invited him to her trailer, compelling evidence that contradicted her claims of feeling threatened or uncomfortable. Some messages even showed her enthusiastically taking credit for changes she now labeled as forced upon her. The public was stunned. Was Blake truly orchestrating a smear campaign, or was Justin weaponizing every single exchange to craft a counter-narrative. Meanwhile, attorneys for both sides entered a heated war of words in the press. Blake's team dismissed Justin's counterclaim as a blatant scare tactic, but insiders said her strategy began to crack under the weight of the newly surfaced evidence. Former supporters cautiously stepped back, worried they might be defending an unfolding scandal. And as lawyers argued over gag orders and discovery motions, the entire spectacle provided daily headlines for an increasingly fascinated and cynical public. Then came the real gut punch, the possibility that both lawsuits might bankrupt whichever party lost. Blake's net worth, while substantial, paled in comparison to a $400 million suit, especially if she also faced reputational damage and missed future opportunities. Hollywood watchers realized this wasn't just a spat, it was existential warfare, and from the looks of it, Justin Baldoni had no intention of going quietly. As the legal drama intensified, Justin's team turned over a litany of bombshell receipts to the court. They showcased moments where Blake seemed not only comfortable with Justin, but downright friendly. Screenshots revealed threads where Blake raved about how awesome it was to collaborate with him. There were playful references. She'd call him a total ball buster in jest, letting him know she could take a joke. Even more damning, some messages implied that it was Blake who initiated informal hangouts, inviting Justin to her trailer or private set area. For fans who had rallied behind Blake's harassment narrative, these revelations felt like a betrayal. If she had genuinely felt unsafe, why would she send flirty or casual messages? Why would she assert so much creative control while simultaneously claiming she had no agency in the situation? News outlets began printing long lists of her contradictory statements, and social media lit up with trending hashtags like #BlakeLivelyExposed or #JusticeForBaldoni. Some netizens drew comparisons to Amber Heard's fiasco with Johnny Depp, cautioning that fans shouldn't blindly believe well-known actresses without seeing the evidence. Then more receipts surfaced, tying in Ryan Reynolds, who had apparently championed Blake's push to modify the film's marketing to spotlight her personal brand deals and his own ventures. Audiences started questioning if the couple had orchestrated a strategic takeover of the project, pushing Justin out of his own movie. One anonymous crew member claimed that Justin was practically banished to the basement during certain events, unheard of behavior for someone credited as a primary producer. Yet perhaps the biggest shock came from the emails Blake sent to top Hollywood executives, which were peppered with exasperated remarks about Justin's stubborn insistence on keeping the story's serious tone. She spoke as though she were the puppet master behind the entire production, revealing that she wanted to transform It Ends With Us into a splashy star vehicle. The question on everyone's mind was, had Blake intentionally twisted the narrative to paint Justin as the villain? With each revelation, her credibility took another devastating blow, and people wondered what would happen next to the once untouchable pair of Blake and Ryan. If Blake's predicament wasn't bad enough, Ryan Reynolds managed to make it worse, almost as if he lit a match in a room full of fireworks. He hopped on national TV, cracking jokes about the lawsuit, basically turning an alleged harassment case into comedic fodder. Social media went nuclear. How could he be so flippant if he genuinely believed his wife's allegations of emotional harm and professional sabotage? The backlash was swift and merciless, with many stating that his reaction alone proved the entire lawsuit might be a strategic sham. Suddenly, Ryan's business empire faced the fallout. Major brand deals that used to clamor for his comedic flair began reassessing their partnerships. Mint Mobile, Aviation Gin, and several film projects no longer saw him as an untouchable golden boy. The label Insensitive started popping up in comment sections, and #boycott Ryan Reynolds gained traction among outraged viewers. Coupled with the swirling speculation that Blake's lawsuit might not hold up in court, the power couple's once glowing reputation dimmed rapidly. Meanwhile, Blake's supporters shrank into the background. Former co-stars and industry friends avoided making statements or offered lukewarm support at best. Even major publications, once eager to side with Blake, stopped championing her victim narrative. As for Ryan, rumors arose that he might distance himself from Blake to safeguard his own career, adding even more drama to an already unbelievable situation. Some speculated that a quiet separation or low-profile approach might be his only chance to remain a Hollywood power player. Yet the question loomed, would that be enough to salvage his brand in the eyes of the public? After all, once the court of public opinion turns, even the greatest comedic timing can't reverse the tide, but that wasn't the whole story. What truly escalated the fiasco was Hollywood itself turning its back on the duo, leaving them more isolated than ever. If there's one unwritten rule in Tinseltown, it's that when scandal approaches, the industry quickly disassociates to avoid collateral damage. And in Blake's case, that disassociation was swift. Projects she had in development quietly stalled or got canned. Filmmakers and producers who once vied for her involvement pulled back. Even Colleen Hoover, the renowned author of It Ends With Us, conspicuously wiped away her social media posts praising Blake. The message was clear: the moment a star becomes radioactive, Hollywood slams the door. Adding to Blake's growing nightmare, gossip spread that she and Ryan faced mounting financial stress. While their net worth might seem high to the average person, lawsuits of this magnitude devour wealth at terrifying speed. Lawyers' fees can run into the tens of millions, and if Justin prevails, the damages could financially cripple them. Ryan's assets are largely tied up in brand stakes, meaning he can't just withdraw massive funds at will. Behind the scenes, sources whispered that big studios and networks are reluctant to cast Blake if she's on the verge of being disgraced in court. The potential PR nightmare alone outweighs her past box office draw. Even stars who once championed her, like certain Gossip Girl alumni or A-list friends, have chosen to stay silent, likely on the advice of their own teams. Nobody wants a cameo in a meltdown that might end in a $400 million payout. Ironically, all this turmoil has intensified interest in It Ends With Us. Speculation runs rampant about whether the film can ever see the light of day, at least in the form Justin originally intended. Some hope that once the legal dust settles, the movie will be a cautionary tale about power struggles in Hollywood. Others believe it's doomed to remain a footnote in the biggest celebrity downfall since the Amber Heard fiasco. But if you think this saga ends with Hollywood's cold shoulder, there's one final piece to the puzzle that might seal Blake's fate for good. At this point, Blake Lively stands on the precipice of a complete career implosion. Lawsuits of this scale often reach their crescendo in courtrooms, but the damage extends far beyond legal fees. Her once sterling reputation, carefully built through glamour and a relatable public persona, is now in tatters. The social media wave that once adored her has turned into a relentless storm of memes, comparisons, and criticisms, with Cancel Blake Lively trending globally. Ryan Reynolds, the man she once relied on for unwavering support, is rumored to be weighing the option of self-preservation, and her fan base slowly eroding as more receipts and testimonies continue to cast doubt on her story. Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, appears more resolute than ever, determined not to let his brainchild be snatched away. He's using every legal avenue to protect himself, and It Ends With Us. If he wins, he walks away with both moral vindication and a massive financial settlement, enough to reshape his career in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Blake could be left grappling with astronomical debt, shattered credibility, and the stigma of having orchestrated a miscalculated takedown. The real tragedy is that It Ends With Us was meant to highlight the complexities of abuse and the hidden layers of toxic relationships. Instead, it's become a battlefield for lawsuits and PR stunts. What was once a beacon of storytelling for those hurt by domestic violence has morphed into a cautionary example of how quickly careers can unravel when ambition, ego, and hidden agendas collide. So is there any path to redemption for Blake Lively? Perhaps time, and Hollywood's notoriously short memory, could offer a second act, but given the intensity of the backlash, it's far from guaranteed. The only certainty is that nothing will ever be quite the same for any of them, and for everyone watching from the sidelines, there's a lesson buried beneath the headlines. In an industry where spin is everything, truth finds a way to emerge eventually, because once Pandora's box is open, there's no closing it. The question is, will Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds be able to survive the fallout, or will they find themselves permanently sidelined in a business that thrives on reinvention but never truly forgets the most spectacular downfalls? Only time will tell, but the damage, as they say, has already been done.